All right, so a lot of 4.7 day 2 is continuing with the transformations for quadratic graphs. So if you've been doing pretty well with transformations, this should be fairly easy. If you haven't, it's time that you memorize these things. Remember that up and down is behind on the outside, left and right is on the inside, opposite thinking, reflections outside over the x-axis, inside over the y-axis. Haven't really dealt with this much. Stretches out front, big numbers, compressions, fractions. And then inside, if it is a fraction, it is actually going to be a stretch, opposite thinking. And if it's a big number on the inside, it's actually a compression. And we haven't dealt with much of those either. So again, inside is opposite thinking, outside normal thinking. So here's kind of where things go, what's happening based on where things are at. All right, so horizontal and vertical translations will just shift the entire graph to the left, the right, up, down, but it does not change the shape of our graph. When graphing transformations, you should take care of any shifts that take place first, and you can do this by graphing the vertex first, which is kind of how we've been doing it. So we're going to practice in this next section where we have our parent function is x squared. So it is a quadratic graph, and it looks like this. We've already graphed it here. And we can just then see what's happening when we graph our new ones. Excuse me. So we're going to identify the vertex first. So remember, we do the opposite of the inside, keep the outside, and there's nothing outside back behind there, so it's a 0. A is 1. That's that number that's in front there. So what we're going to do is we're going to plot the vertex 5, 0. There it is. And then we are going to determine what A is, and that affects the direction and or the shape of our graph. Well, in this case, it's just 1, so it's not going to be changing, stretching, or compressing at all. So we're going to plot the 2 points to the right of the vertex and the 2 points to the left, if possible. So remember, when we go over 1, 1 squared is 1. When we go over 2, 2 squared is 4, so we should go up 4. So again, to the left, 1 means we go up 1. To the left from our vertex, 2 means after we go over 2, we need to go up 4. And you can kind of see your U shape now. So try and get at least 5 points to draw your U shape. So the vertex counting as 1 and then 2 on either side for a total of 5. So number 2, we have a vertex, nothing on the inside, so 0, keep the outside 5, and we have an A of 1, because it's just nothing in front of that X. So now we start at 0, 5, and that's our vertex. So we're going to go from there, since this is 1 still, there's no stretch or compression, so we're going to go from our vertex over 1, up 1. From our vertex again, start there, go over 2, up 4. And then we're going to do the next side on the left, over 1, up 1. From our vertex, left 2, up 4. And now that we've got those 5 points, we can go ahead and draw our U shape. And we forgot to do our transformation, so let's go ahead and go back to see what happened for this first one, the purple one here. So we went right 5, and that was it. So for this one, we went up 5. So I want you to try these next two on your own. They're very similar to the ones up above. There's no stretch or compression. So go ahead and find your vertex, start there, and then plot your quadratic function. All right, so let's go ahead and check your answers for 3 and 4. So we should have A is 1, starting at -2, 1, and graphing just your basic quadratic function there with your 5 points. We moved left 2 and up 1. Over here, starting at 1, negative 3, then we do the opposite of the inside. And this one also just has an a of 1. And then we're plotting our points, graphing. We moved right 1, down 3. Hopefully you did well. If not, make sure that you note any questions that you have. All right, let's take a look at going the other direction when we write the transform function in vertex form. So one thing that helps me is I like to identify the vertex that's in the graph. So let's go ahead and identify this vertex here of our new graph. So this one we're at 5, negative 3. And then we're going to also do number 2 together. This one we are at negative 7, 1. So we went left 7 and up 1. That's our new vertex point. So now when we go to put it back into vertex form, here's kind of our form here. There's no stretches or compressions, so we know A is going to be 1. But do we need to put that 1 there? No. So we're going to go ahead and put a big set of parentheses squared. And I'm going to put x, and then I want to put this h, or this x value in a sense, back in up here. But I want to do the opposite. So if it's a positive 5 here, then I need to make it a minus 5 back inside the parentheses. So now the last thing is just putting my k back behind it, or in a sense my y value, negative 3. And that's it. That's putting it back into vertex form. So let's try another one. No stretches or compressions. We have the same look as our parent function. It's not being, shape's not changing. So we're just going to plug in our h and our k back in. So set of parentheses, squared. Don't forget the squared. And we're going to put in a negative 7 back into the parentheses. Well, we want opposite. So we should be a plus 7 when it goes behind the x. Now we have a positive 1 that we want to go behind there. Plus 1. There we go. All right, try 3 and 4 on your own. Check when you're ready. All right, so 3 and 4, it had a vertex of negative 2, negative 8, so it should be x plus 2 squared minus 8. Number 4 had a vertex of 2, negative 9, so we want to have x minus 2 squared minus 9. So again, that number that's going inside the parentheses should be opposite. All right, let's talk about reflections across the x-axis. So general rule, we know that if there's a negative on the outside, then it tells us to reflect the graph. So when A is positive number, it's happy, and when A is negative, it's a sad graph. All right, so let's go ahead and flip to page 12. And we are going to be doing some that actually have reflections going upside down. So for this first one, A is negative 1, in a sense, and we have a vertex of 0, 0. So we're just going to start at 0, 0, and we're going to go right 1, but this time we're going to go down 1, because we want it to be a negative. And then we're going to go right 2, but this time we're going to go down 4. And we're going to go the other way, left, over 1, so down 1, over 2, so down 4. And remember, if we went over 3, what would 3 squared be? Oh yeah, 9. So we could go all the way to 9 if we wanted to, if you wanted to get a couple more points in there. But you just need at least those 5 when you're graphing for me. Let's do another one. So let's take a look at number 3. For this one, our vertex is going to be 3, 6, opposite of the inside, keep the outside, with a negative 1 for A. So we're going to be upside down. Let's start at 3, 6. And we're going to go upside down. So if this is our vertex, 3, 6. It might help if I get the right point. So up here at 3, 6, we're going to go over 1, down 1. We're going to go over 2, down 4. 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to go over 1, down 1 in the other direction. Over 2, down 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to draw our U shape. So ignore this little dot right here. There we go. All right, try those other two on your own. Check when you're ready. All right, so as we're checking these, I'm also going to go back and talk about the transformation that took place. Number one was just a reflection, which you can't see it. Number two was a reflection and moved right 4. Since we're at 4, 0, so that's our vertex point, and then we need to go upside down. So reflection and right 4. And then number 3 was reflection, and it moved right 3 and up 6. Number 4 started at 0, -2, and it was reflected, so it moved down 2 and had a reflection. All right, so those last few questions, we are going to write them into equation form based on what we're given. So if it's moving down 2, we know that's on the outside. So I want to have an x squared because nothing else is happening. And then I want to put a -2 behind it to make it move down 2. Left, I know that that's inside because that's horizontal movement. So I need parentheses squared. I need an x, and how would I move it left 7? Well, it's opposite thinking, so not a minus, but a +7 is going to move it left. All right, the next one, translated up 3 and right 4. Go ahead and do that one on your own, kind of combining 1 and 2 together, and then check. And you should have x - 4 squared plus 3. All right, next, translated 1 unit to the right and reflected. So reflection, we know that's going to be a negative out front, and a right is going to be on the inside of our parentheses squared, and that's going to be opposite, so -1 for it to move right. Try that last one on your own and check when you're ready. So a reminder, if you struggle with this section, this is where that front page comes in really handy to tell you where things are supposed to go. So you can always refer back to page 9 at the bottom where it tells you if there's a negative on the outside, that's where it's vertically reflected. If there's the H on the inside, that's left and right, what to make those. Up and down, that's where your number goes there. So page 9 can help you if you're struggling with putting them into the right spots. So remember, reverse thinking when it's on the inside. Very, very important in this section that you remember that reverse thinking when you're putting things back inside those parentheses. All right, make sure to note any questions that you have, and continuing to practice is going to help you tremendously when it comes to these transformations. You have 2 more examples on the next page. We'll go ahead and do that number 1 together, but then I want you to try number 2. So this vertex point right here is actually 2, -8. So if we put it back into the parentheses for our function, it would be x - 2 inside the parentheses and then the -8 behind it. So try that last one on your own. Don't forget that it's a reflection. So you should have a +5 on the inside, a +6 behind it, and a negative out front.